Welcome to IT Live, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook, got Ian Boyd, we got Justin Wells. Make sure that if you're here, you like and subscribe to the channel. Of course, head to InsideTexas.com. You can sign up for just $1. Good morning, Roaster. Thank you for joining us. Thanks, everybody, to joining us. We're going to talk a little bit about Arch Manning today. We've been writing a lot about him in recent weeks and about how he fits into a playbook that we expect to see a few more pages of in the upcoming season. Ian, one of the big aspects that we haven't seen a ton of, I guess to say, they've tried it. It's kind of been up and down with them. And there's hopes that when you look at Arch Manning in the drop back passing game, that there can be some improvement in some plays, some stretches of play that look similar to maybe what you saw from Mac Jones during that 2020 season. But when you're talking about drop back passing, what does that mean, compared to other styles of passing?
Yeah, well, drop back passing is it's basically what Colt McCoy was doing all the time at Texas back in the day. Drop back passing is where the quarterback takes a 3-step drop. He's got 4 or 5 receivers out in patterns, and he's going 1, 2, 3. Oh, wait, no, it's a blitz. Get it out here now. Oh, this guy's covered. Get to my second read, my check down. There's no play action. There's no run fake. It's not an RPO. It's everybody's running routes, and the quarterback is using his rules and his vision to find one of them, or failing that, he's got to make something happen if nobody's open. Casey Thompson actually did some of this. He often would scramble. But Casey Thompson was relatively decent on some of these. And Quinn, it was never really Quinn's thing because the footwork and the timing was never quite there. And he actually, sometimes he could make magic happen when nobody was open, but he was injured a lot and had to protect himself. And in those cases, he did not make magic happen. He'd usually just wander into pressure or something or throw the ball away. There's like a whole world of drop back passing in Sark's old playbooks that we have not seen regularly employed in Texas. And I think we're going to start to see a lot more of it now that Arch Manning's at the helm.
So the best example, I think, for Texas fans, when you think of drop back passing, think of the Sugar Bowl versus Washington. It's a very painful memory, but what Michael Penix Jr., Jalen Polk, Rome Odunze, Jalen McMillan, there was not a ton of play action that set up that passing attack. That was a first-round quarterback, a Heisman finalist quarterback, hitting first-round and second-round receivers who are able to get open. And so you think of just dropping back, looking for receivers, looking for targets. That's what drop back passing is, and it's a painful example, but that is probably the best example I think Texas fans can think of.
I got a happier one. When Vince Young took off in 2005, it was because he finally mastered some of Greg Davis's spread drop back passing. And once he mastered those progression passes with David Thomas, and Billy Pittman in the slot running routes in the middle of the field and outside the hatch marks. Once he had that down and teams had to cover it consistently, the scramble lanes were wide open. And that pairing is what won the national championship.
It finally looks like, I'm checking YouTube on here, finally looks like the screen share is working, so we'll be able to go through a few of the different things that you wrote today. But Justin, before we do, we've talked about gap scheme and, putting that part of the offense in there. I think it goes to show that even though you can be in year 5 of a program, there's still steps each position and even the coach and the offense can take as they go throughout the program building process.
Well, yeah, because everybody's got a different set of skills. It's like what Liam Neeson in a lot of those movies. Like every different player brings a different skill set, and sometimes you're going to be able to expand with Arch. You're going to be able to expand some of this stuff. I think it's going to be fun and fascinating to see what they do. A lot of people feel like he's going to be a running guy just because that was this package whenever he came into games this year. That's not going to be the case. Like Ian said, they're going to open this thing up, and that's only going to make, I think, Texas more dangerous. I also think it's going to be almost out of necessity because they won't have the same toys that Quinn's been playing with for the most part for the last 2 years. It's going to be new receivers. It's going to be new things coming through there, and so I just think every team is different, and this group there's a uniqueness, but we just don't know what it is yet. We don't know what it is yet. At this time last year, we didn't know that the Texas defense was going to be the staple of the program. We knew they were good. We had no idea they were going to be that good. And so with this offense, I think there's some of that, anticipation.
So this is one of my favorite things that Pro Football Focus does, because for all the subjective stuff, the grades, did you block, did you do stuff like that, you can tell if it's a screen. You can tell if it's not a screen. You can tell if it's play action. You can tell if it's not play action. And I think some of the numbers that you see here really do show that there's a chance Arch Manning can be pretty darn good at this. I think you have to – let me see if I can zoom it in a little bit more. Oh, nope, that's that screen. There is there we go. That'll do it. There is some contextualizing that you probably have to put in there. Remember, he played a lot against UTSA, ULM, and Mississippi State. He had snaps against Georgia. He had snaps against Florida. I don't think he had drop back passing snaps against A&M or Clemson, maybe one against Ohio State that he ended up scrambling on. So, Ian, all these numbers, for the most part, when you look at – they're just the bulk of his passing are in those games where he got those extended reps. But even so, you say in your article, this is the toughest thing to master, but it's also the toughest thing to defend. And Arch has a pretty strong, start to it in his career, it looks like.
Yeah, it's hard to tease these out because I don't know where RPOs count in this. And the no play action does include potentially screens.
I think so.
I scrolled through Nash's every Arch Manning play this morning looking for examples. And so they're all pretty fresh in my mind. And I can tell you that he hit a lot of shots on sort of ostensibly three-step drop back plays a ton. Sark style does that for years. Quinn hit them inconsistently down the field. And Arch hit a lot of like over the heads of the defenders kinds of shots down the field pretty consistently. And those are probably a huge bulk of his numbers on the year, especially those 5 touchdowns on the no play action section. There's a lot of shots there.
The other thing is, you've got big time throws. It's a little bit more subjective, but 4 of them compared to just 2. No turnover worthy passes from the no play action. He had 3 drops.
I don't know. That seems.
He had one touchdown. He had at least 1 touchdown dropped.
Yeah, and I can't remember if that the blitz to the Mississippi State blitz that popped him, but he dropped it in the bucket to DeAndre Moore. I think that was not play action because that was a hot protection, right? There was no chance to play.
That was a hot route, wasn't it?
Well, that was one of those 3-step shot plays. That was a drop back pass, and he hit the bomb on it.
Yeah, and he had the shoulder shimmy dance, which is pretty good. And then Ian Blake Bryan brings us up. Those play action numbers are great. Why is that?
He was a god of war in play action last year. He played some pretty bad teams, obviously, in most of his starts. But he was absolutely devastating on those.
He sells it.
He sells it well. He sees it. He hits it on time. He throws a very catchable ball.
Ian, watch him if you ever watch him in pregame warmups.
Yeah.
The other guys are kind of, going. He sells play action on every rep. Like he is. It's similar. He is doing it exactly how he's been taught since he's probably been 8, 9 years old. He sells it as good as anybody.
I think
as well as
Baker Mayfield trick too. Baker used to kill with that in Oklahoma, where he was very devoted to selling those.
One of the other things is I remember there was a Peyton's Places, and I think it was unfortunately with Deshaun Watson, where they showed old tape of like Peyton and Deshaun talking, but Peyton would put a camera at the center and then go through dropbacks. And granted, he's turning his back to the play and doing 5-step drops, but he would try to show like, okay, make every play action look the same. So another Manning was big on that. But I think what I was trying to get at was play action, those numbers you'd expect to be up, because if you have a team like Texas where even when you have run game struggles, teams have to respect play action, it's going to open up some things for receivers a little bit more than as soon as they see the quarterback get the snap, take a drop back, your teammates on the sideline yell pass, you're looking for just the pass, maybe a scramble, but just the pass. Like play action is meant to open a few things up and create some separation because of, mental processing time. So those are the numbers. We'll get to the words in just a second, but before we do, a word from Academy.
Days like this, the anticipation's half the fun. The call to adventure. Possibilities in every direction.
Look at that.
The stories you'll bring back, even the true ones. And always, already, you can't wait until next time. From first catch to biggest catch of the season, this is where it starts. Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there.
So one of the things I think there may be a confusion sometime, Ian, with drop back passing being the air raid. And there are sometimes parts of it that do overlap, but a drop back passing game is not, something Mike Leach and Hal Mumme invented. Like this is
when I think of drop back passing, I think of under center. I don't think shotgun.
Drops, routes developing, stuff like that.
3-step, 5-step, stuff like that.
And because Texas does shotgun and pistol, that makes it easier on the quarterback to not have to have perfect footwork like guys like, Peyton and Eli would have to do, because it's like you go under center. But drop back passing has some simple concepts too, Ian, just like the air raid does, to make things easy on quarterbacks, even in a complicated type of system.
The air raid is basically almost exclusively drop back passing from the gun in spread sets, which kind of made sense because it was like, if you're going to do this, it's hard to do unless it's all you do at the college level.
Right.
That was kind of Leach's thing was,
yeah,
this is all we're going to do. We're going to get good at this one thing, and then we'll be extremely hard to stop. And we'll run the ball every now and then, and we'll throw screens. So, the air raid is not actually the worst thing to think about. But obviously, Texas is going to do this with tight ends on the field. They're going to run the ball. They're going to run play action. They're not going to major in this the way that Leach would. So it's not like that. Even with Colt McCoy, they majored in it pretty heavily, almost like the air raid, but Mac would still insist on trying to run the ball for 50-50 balance or some other nonsense, and just create holes for Colt to dig him back out of. But yeah, that's not the worst way to think of it, but just think of it as being a portion of the offense.
So there were also some staples that we saw plenty. Mesh, which may be every air raid coach's favorite play while thinking about it. You see Matthew Golden go down the okay. Let's see what we got. This is Quinn.
Yeah.
And so the way mesh works is sometimes you see the crossing routes, you see the tight end run the hitch, but pretty much the first read on every version of mesh, and it looks like it's DeAndre Moore running it on this version, is that wheel route.
Yeah.
And
that's the first read. It's not the guy coming coming across.
No, that's the second.
Really?
That one takes a second to develop. And so you look deep, and if it's not there,
That's
means your drag is wide open.
Your primary. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All those times where Bijan Robinson had against Oklahoma, where he had open touchdown catches and runs, that's mesh. That's like, oh yeah, the linebackers should be covering him, or nobody covered him, and waltz into the end zone. So yeah,
Billy Bowen tried to.
That's the first read. Not a great throw by Quinn. You see some.
Especially with more wide, you could have hit more wide open, got out of bounds, got the first down. Now you're first and goal, and you got a whole other play going in for that one. He was looking for the money shot.
The drag was wide open.
Yeah. Matthew Golden running across the screen.
Yeah.
Yep. Remember every tweet from 14 tweets from last year. Matthew Golden is always open.
And is this another mesh example?
Yeah. I believe this one he tries to get to the drag and he something goes awry. I don't remember exactly what goes wrong, but
so I'm trying to think. So what should happen here is whoever this is runs the wheel over, somebody stops in the middle. Let's see what happens. So boom, should have hit him right there, gets sacked.
Yeah.
So it's an up and down.
Bad protection, in fairness, on that one.
So you see stuff like that, and then you see stuff like this, and I think this is the play. No, this isn't the play, but this is one of them that shows what Art can do in the drop back schemes. And 1, 2, 3, scan. You can see the helmet move. You can see Jonte Cook drop the football.
That was the best throw of that game, not the DeAndre Moore one.
The crowd was so disappointed with this one. I think everybody I think most of DKR was willing to pack Cook's bags after that one.
And he had a good game up to that point. I thought he'd already got a touchdown in 3 or 4 passes.
He might have.
But that's the one everyone's going to remember, obviously.
Yeah, especially in light of subsequent events.
And one thing that we also haven't mentioned quite yet is when the quarterback drops back, everybody kind of thinks that defensive tackles and defensive ends are dumb and just go forward. They're reading. And then when the quarterback goes back, they get in their pass rush. They, go through whatever moves they want. So it increases the level of pressure. And credit to the Texas O-line here for getting everybody. I think Jaden Blue got a chip there as he's breaking protection.
Man, that's a dime, guys. Ooh, it's a dime.
Like, that's the good stuff. And that's what drop back passing looks like. Let's see, which one's this one? UL Monroe. So a little bit of a different level of competition here. What's this one?
This one is like a more of a vertical shot. I think it's like a dig post. This is one that Quinn often struggled with, was you have to read the safety's leverage to see if he takes the dig or the post, and then you got to throw the one he doesn't take. And it's got to be pretty quick because the ball's so far downfield, the window of opportunity is very short.
The best instance ever was that touchdown pass to Worthy at Alabama. That's the best dig post is that? No, because dig post from the same side of the field?
Not necessarily. That one was. That one.
Worthy also kind of adjusted his route a little bit to the ball.
Yeah.
Quinn through a rainbow.
That was one of his better ones, but he also moonshotted it.
I was about to say he hit the moon on that one.
to the back of the end zone and let Worthy just find it in the air and get under it.
Yeah.
And it's funny, as I see more and more of these plays, there's more and more aspects of drop back passing to kind of bring up. Only 3 guys go out in the route here. And once Gunnar Helm and I think that's probably Trey Wisner recognize, like, okay, they're not bringing 5. Okay, they're not bringing 6. I can go be a check down. That's something that running backs and tight ends have to read too. So there's, even though you think it's pretty straightforward play wise, like there's a lot of different reads being made by a lot of different people to make it all work and to give Arch or whoever's there that time in the pocket to make this type of throw.
Yeah.
Golden make a great play.
Your O-line has to block with just 5 usually. So they all have to be on the same page to make sure nobody's in the quarterback's face immediately. The quarterback has to know the protection and who he's responsible for, because the O-line are going to block 5 guys. And then there's a 6th and a 7th guy. And the 6th may or may not be blocked by a running back. And the quarterback has to know, if this guy or this guy blitz, I got to throw the ball. And I got to throw the ball to this route. And then the receiver running that route has to know, hey, if it's a blitz, I have to be running this route, maybe instead of a different one. And the overall coordination across all 11 guys is so much more intense in this stuff, which is why only the air raid guys majored in it, you know?
So is this the touchdown?
No.
Okay. So I know it's kind of tough to see, but you can see just from here, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 defenders. There's 4 on the line of scrimmage. So this is going to be a tough pass because you got 7 guys back there. Maybe this guy blitzes, brings pressure, or drops down. So you know you have at least 7 guys back there. You do have, this is a, end of half situation, so you're not going to run the ball. Everybody knows you're not going to run the ball. You make that trade-off. But this is drop back passing. But, oh, yeah, you have some other ways you can do it with Arch's skill set. 1, 2, 3, nothing there. Oh, wait, there is something there.
Yep.
So, look, you can – and the thing with this is you always watch the helmet. 1, 2, 3, and then, boom, it's there. And then is this the flip?
Yep. So this one is like a bunch snag, which I'm going to install for my flag football team this spring. And he's got the corner and the snag route and the flat route to the left side of the field. And you read through those, usually flat to corner or corner to flat, depending on the coach and the situation. And then on the bottom, he's got, I don't know, something else going on. He's trying to read the snag at the top, but there's the spacing in the goal line is tough. And he doesn't like what he sees because he's got guys that are in position to, he's got I think a corner is in position to maybe get back and intercept.
That guy's being covered and Nyblack's not looking yet.
Yeah. He's in position to cover potentially.
There are 2 guys. There are 2 guys there. There are 2 guys for the 2 guys there. There's 2 guys for the 1 guy there. I think 2 guys for 1 receiver right there, and then there's Bolden, and so they just run the option.
Yeah. Impromptu option.
I was about to say that's a unique option, but it technically is an option. It's a great play.
And I think this is why at the end of the year, Justin, everybody was so clamoring so much for more Arch because of the fact that it's like, look, if you have him out there, yeah, he can be your 16-wheeler. That dude can drop back too. And I think that's what people wanted to see. Again, you're facing some of the toughest defenses in college football with that, and you still, despite being a Manning, decently green. But that was one of the big reasons for the argument behind, hey, get this guy out there more.
A lot of that's the eagerness to see more Arch Manning. I mean, there's a demand for this. Unlike most, college high school players, people want to get as much of him as they can, and when they see a little bit of success, they want more. They want to fix. And they see this guy making some of these throws. I was talking to somebody the other day close to Quinn Ewers, and I was like, the worst thing that really happened to Quinn wasn't necessarily all the injuries. It was the fact that there was an Arch Manning behind him, and that he was prepared and ready and already making plays on the field and running 21 miles per hour. And really, there's some sandlot ball to him. And I think that's a vibe. People like that. The offense likes that. The team feeds off of that. That Silas Bolden touchdown toss wasn't in the playbook, but he made it happen. And then you see him score against Texas A&M, and people they wanted more of Arch. It was only natural, especially with as much hype as he came in. And the guy at this point has kind of lived up to it, at this level so far. That's what people want. The fans just want more of it. They've seen a little bit, and they're like, oh, we could see more. It was very similar to Vince Young in 2003, where they'd see a little bit. Chance Mock came in as the starter originally. Vince would come in late. Vince would make 2 or 3 plays where you just go, my God, there's no way to defend that. And so no matter how well the starter was doing, they wanted a taste of that 5-star number 1 guy coming up. It's the same thing with Arch Manning, and it's because he made plays. Fans wanted to see more of it. Personally, me too.
Before we keep going, got to show some love to our sponsor. That is Andre the Lawyer.
This video is brought to you by Andre the Lawyer. If you're injured, trust the team that secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans with their injury case. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, and wrongful deaths. Don't let insurance tell you what your claim is worth. Hire Andre the Lawyer to fight for you. Principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait and call Andre the Lawyer today at 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. The contact information is in the description.
Great American, Andre the Lawyer. I got this one, one from Sugar Daddy. Arch will be what Tennessee wishes Nico would be. Yeah, but those offenses are so different. I like Nico. I think he's got a great skill set, but I call that skill set being a big dumb idiot or big armed idiot. And I know that's mean and painting with a broad brush, but that offense is designed for guys who have a cannon on their right arm to see one thing and make a decision, or not see one thing and make a decision, and that be it.
He ain't getting more than one read.
Right. Not very often.
Not in that offense, at least. It's not how it's set up.
Whereas the, Texas offense, as we saw, Arch is going 1, 2, 3, and either run or check down.
Tennessee's going to be coming down. Is going to be coming for you, Joe.
I know.
I agree with you.
I don't know. I don't know if they're. I think a lot of the shine is off for Nico. And
little bit.
I'm not saying Nico's an idiot. I'm saying it's like that archetype.
The stereotypical big-armed idiot. The Jeff George.
Bryce Petty.
Marcus Russell.
Jamarcus Russell probably would have been the best Briles quarterback of all time if he had been in that system. Just hitting deep.
Yeah, I think Ian said something about that, about Tyrone Swoops once.
Yeah. Maybe that would have helped.
If he had been, I don't know. We got to see him in the veer and shoot for a year. Before I put my foot in my mouth any further. Also, Tennessee doesn't have the receivers this year unless they go portal hunting big time. And that's going to be a problem. Ian, you wrote about this extensively. So AR head to Inside Texas to we've written about this, I think, 3 or 4 times in the past week. But you've kind of got a number you can barely count on 2 hands there for your idea.
I I'm thinking as few as possible in normal games, and then 10 plus in big games. So like you probably want to mix it in, even against a Mississippi State. You probably want to run a read play now and then, just so they know it's in the playbook and they can't sell out on it. And then he's going to scramble probably a couple times most games.
Yes.
So I think he's going to end up with like 3 to 5 carries most games. But then when you're playing like Georgia, Oklahoma, or a postseason game, then you just, in my opinion, that's when you roll the dice and you say Arch is going to run as many times as he has to for us to win this game.
I prefer, and I'm with you, I just prefer those to be later in the season. I don't want to see that earlier in the season. They're going to play an NFL schedule, 16, maybe 17 games. Let's see it later in the year. You got to make sure you keep that joker healthy. But it's such a weapon, and it's something you want to keep the defense thinking about as well.
He's a big guy.
He's a huge guy.
I'm trying to figure out.
Don't leave with the red shoulder.
I just don't want to see that kid go down because he tried. Major Applewhite tried to do that with David Ash, and it's like, what happened? Nothing good.
If Arch goes down running the ball like 15 times against Ohio State, Justin is gonna like order me to commit seppuku, I think.
It won't be me. It'll be a message I get from Cooper Manning to relay to Ian.
That one will go to Sark.
All right. I think I've made this comparison a number of times, but I think we all see a lot of Trevor Lawrence in Arch Manning, or a lot of Arch Manning and Trevor Lawrence, however that works. When Trevor took over in the 2019 and 2020 seasons, he took over in 2020 or 2018. I'm sorry. But when that Clemson was at its peak run under him, here's what they did in the one semifinal game, a championship game, and then the ACC championship and the other semifinal game. Semifinal game against Ohio State where they won. 16 carries, 107 yards, 1 touchdown. I think that included that really long run.
Yeah.
When they lost to Clemson, 10 carries, 49 yards, 1 touchdown. Again, that may include some sacks. Clemson versus Notre Dame in the 2020 ACC championship. 14 carries, 90 yards, 1 touchdown. Clemson versus Ohio State, 10 carries, -8 yards, 1 touchdown. So those are the big games
in the ACC.
In 2020, they were.
Oh, that's right.
For all the craziness.
That's right. What a crazy year.
So those were Clemson's biggest games. Those were the only games, and granted, sacks make a difference in this, but like they rarely ran Trevor 10 times.
And Trevor's not the athlete Arch is. A little bit bigger, but not the athlete.
Not but they're not the comparison's not far off, I feel.
No, it's not. It's not. He's not Mac Jones, Drew Bledsoe, statuous. No, he's got some athleticism. He always did. I just think it's not like Arch. He's not running 21 miles an hour away from defenders. I don't think.
I'm trying to see what
it's a little bit. I think he was a little bit taller.
Trevor's like 6'6".
Yeah. Remember, we covered Trevor and Justin Fields in that Elite 11, the opening. And those two were clearly the best 2 quarterbacks in that class. Trevor, that's when Trevor looked like sunshine from Remember the Titans.
Trevor did not run the 40, and he didn't need to. Anyway.
It's a good comparison. I'm with you. I think they're very similar. Very similar.
Trevor's falling off the map. No,
he's in Jacksonville. Duval fell off the map.
As an AFC South aficionado, let me tell you, it's not Trevor's fault.
He's had 3 OCs in 3 years. He had to deal with Urban Meyer. Yeah, come on, bud. Now he does have Brian Thomas Jr. That's a guy you need to watch in fantasy football this year.
I've been trying to do better than your Trevor Lawrence comp for Arch, because obviously it's not 1-to-1. He's bigger than Trevor. He's
Andrew Luck.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
That's my Arch comp.
I'm going to look into that. That might be.
He's not as mean. but he's not as mean. But yeah, that's my call.
That might be it. I'm going to look into that later. Just that's pretty sharp.
Ian, you ready to talk a little defense?
Yeah.
So one of the coolest parts of Texas 2024 season was their third down package. And you have, oh boy, here we go. I'm always messing this up. One defensive tackle, one edge and Barron Sorrell playing inside, Anthony Hill, Colin Simmons, Trey Moore. You had Jahdae Barron playing a linebacker spot, Leongo Lafau, and you had five defensive backs around Barron. Obviously,
Barron, I think what you were saying is Barron would replace Leongo Lafau as one of the linebackers.
There we go. And here we go. I'm about to pull this up. So this is the Todd Orlando defense. Also,
this is the one that Akina and Nansen ran at Arizona in 2023.
Very effective. It kind of looks like a 3-4. Here are your outside linebackers, but they've been replaced by defensive backs in passing situations.
I was about to say that's a weird 3-4.
I know. So I haven't been able to go through this all the way, but do you see Texas utilizing something similar, or are they going to go? I think I found the direction you're going to go.
That's what I like to see right there.
So the problem with the 3-down tight front is everybody remembers the problem. Is that there's no room for an edge. So you end up with Malcolm Roach moonlighting as an inside linebacker, Jeffrey McCulloch moonlighting as an inside linebacker, and Joe Osai moonlighting as an inside linebacker, or at times a star based on injuries. And you get guys like Brecken Hager and Charles Omenihu playing inside shade as down linemen. So ironically, Orlando inherited all these edges, didn't have a place for him in his defense. And then they were all gone by the time PK arrived, and there was no edges left because they were like, well, we don't even need him. Let's stop recruiting him. So they basically stopped recruiting him, and then there were none left for PK. So the big problem is Colin Simmons as a 4-eye technique could maybe work for a game or two. Will Anderson used to do it a lot, but I don't know if it would work. And it's sure not the best use for a Colin Simmons. You do that with like Ethan Burke, Lance Jackson, maybe Umeo Zulu, certainly Barron Sorrell. That was fine. Those are big, long, strong guys. You play them a little more inside, they're going to do just fine.
Right.
But Colin Simmons, you take him out of space. It's like
he's not the same size as those other guys.
It's like pulling a jaguar out of the jungle. And so why would that's where he was king.
Yeah.
And so ideally they would form a 3-2-6 dime package so that they could play Moore and Hill at Mike and Will linebacker, replace somebody with a dime backer, which could be Jonah Williams or Jelani McDonald, and then still keep Simmons, who would be the J here, as an edge. So he can do edge things instead of defensive end 3-down guy things. Yeah, we'll see though. I watched some clips of PK running this defense, and he had some big edges, but he just play him inside his 4-eye if he wanted to do this.
So one of the things that was very interesting about this, and help me if I'm wrong, this spot, this is where Barron would play during, or would he be at this spot?
I can't see your cursor.
Oh, it's on the D.
He would be the D, but he would be the D. But
okay.
The W there'd be no W. It'd be a buck, and he'd line up on the line of scrimmage.
Okay. All right.
But I'm saying you could play more off the ball, and you could play the dime off the ball like this, and then just rotate them down late before the snap or even after the snap. And all of a sudden you're back in your 4-2-5 kind of look, just with dime personnel.
So one of the fun conversations we've had is, who do you put at dime to replace Barron? Barron was there because of his great instincts. He knew multiple positions. Justin, I know we've talked a little bit about, hey, maybe just put Michael Taft there. A lot of instincts, a lot of guy who, you can put some other guys around him in the deep secondary like McDonald, like Williams when healthy, like Jordan Johnson-Rebel. But there's a lot of fun, intriguing options you can put at that dime spot, including one we talked about the other day.
Dude, I love this idea of Jonah Williams in that spot. Like, I think that makes that defense just unique with immense possibilities, especially the sooner that he gets down to kind of the speed of the game. I think Jonah Williams is one of the biggest safeties you're ever going to meet. He's just a big kid, but I think he has the ability to do that. And to me, I think anytime you can get an impactful kid on the field and give him a role, don't give him too much, kind of like Derek Johnson his freshman year. Just give him a role. Just give him something that he's really good at, and that's what you focus on. Using Jonah Williams there, that's sexy. There's just a lot of there's some really cool things to what you can do with that. Ian, I think Joe is still. I think Ian and I are doing.
No, Ian, what do you think about this question?
If we're going to play this dime on 1st and 3rd down against passing offenses, what package should we try out there? It's like you would play whatever the 1st down dime package is, you would play on 1st and 2nd down, unless 2nd down was like 2nd and 14 or something, and then maybe you would switch to the smaller all pass rush, all defensive back set.
Isn't that like the NASCAR package? Isn't that what we called it last year?
Is it? This probably, if there was a NASCAR package, then that's what it was that 3rd down deal. So it would just be depending on whether you're worried about the run game or not. If you're worried about the run game, so like in this one that's a drawn above, you have like Simmons and then a nose like Brevard or Hero Canoe. And then you have a tackle like Alex January or
Travis Shaw
or whoever. So you still have a couple more big bodies on the field. It's not like the 3rd down NASCAR deal where you replace most of the other big bodies with pass rushers. In this one, you would still have some heft up front because you're anticipating they are still going to run the ball, and you need to be solid against the running game. But then you're using speed to stop the run instead of just using pure size. So like the star and the dime can be all over the place, and the safeties can be all over the place, and you can end up loading the box with smaller athletes to stop the run. And if the other team is not good at playing bully ball with like a tight end or something, then you can really wreck shop because you get guys unblocked off the edge or in the hole that the offense doesn't know how to block, and they can't open big enough holes, and they just get stuffed.
This may lead into a good answer for this question. What kind of impact will Justin Terry have? This may be a good place for him to find a role, right, Justin?
I would think I'm going to defer to Ian's expertise on that, but you would think because he's already showing versatility. Obviously his size and strength are already off the charts, but the idea of letting him get at some edge and play some edge is it's similar to what Ian was talking about with Jonah Williams kind of expanding, giving him a role. Once you give Justice Terry a role, that's where he's going to thrive. You don't want to throw too much at him too soon. The kid's still 18 years old. He's been in college not even barely 2 months. But giving him a small package, giving him something that he can focus on and get better at. I don't have a prediction on stats from Justice Terry. I just know the one stat, he's going to be impactful. It's just going to be what kind of role they figure out for him. And Lance Jackson, the same way. I think he's going to be a guy that they're going to have to figure out a role. They're going to have to figure out something where that works. But, yeah, I don't know about stats, but Terry, that would be a nice spot there for him just to get his feet wet. And I think Texas has been really good in the last couple of years. PK's been really good. kind of infiltrating some of these younger guys. We saw that with Alex January late in the playoff run. We saw that with Jelani McDonald last year when McCoob had gone down. They'd had a few injuries. And I'm curious to see how Jelani does. Like, I could see Jelani at the star because that's the guy that, remember Eric was trying to sell us on the fact that he's the linebacker, and we kept trying to tell him, no, he's much, much better in that back end. I think Jelani's a guy that could find out a role in this. This could be a really fun front and scheme.
Especially the NASCAR deal. You figured Justice Terry might end up in the NASCAR package when it's just, hey, go get the passer. You're the nose.
I think he'll be a better pass rusher than Baron Sorrell was. Not now, not this year, year, but in time, I think he'll be more of that.
I like this one. Get Jelani close to the line of scrimmage. Let the lion hunt. I think he's going to be a critical part of this package.
I have no doubt he will. He's going to be a critical part of this defense.
He could play star, dime, or either safety spot, and I still think in any of those positions they're going to end up sneaking him around the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Before we get on out of here, I think Academy is big on Texas. They're big on Texas A&M. And gentlemen, Texas and Texas A&M play today in the SEC tournament title. Did you? I know. This is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Hopefully it's a lot of fun to watch.
I was about to say, I'm crossing fingers on that one.
The first game in College Station was not particularly fun. As a result, A&M, very good rebounding team, was able to bully Texas around the paint. And if it weren't for a tremendous comeback against the Aggies in Austin, the Longhorns are not even close to sniffing the bubble. They are sniffing the bubble, as hard as it is for some people to believe this season is, the hyperbole train gets rolling very quickly when it comes to bad Texas basketball, and that it's a failure in setting the season and program back decades. It's a bad season, but it doesn't set the program back decades or even a year. You can redo a basketball team like that. Anyway, Texas plays the Aggies today. And Justin, it seems like if they win this game, they may be dancing.
Yeah, that's we talked about that last night. That's kind of the interesting thing. You look at the record and you just think, man, that's not an NCAA tournament team. I just don't see how, unless you win your conference tournament and get that automatic bid. Like, I just don't see this being a team. And then you got some guys coming out, or I think it was the Big 12 commissioner said it the other day. His silly mind is slipping me. But talking about expanding possibly to 70. It's like, guys, watch the games now. That's proof you don't need to add teams to this tournament. Let them duke it out, and you kind of get the best. Look, Texas. Another big win over A&M. That's considered a quad one win, correctly, Joe?
I think yesterday was too.
Yeah, that would be 7. The team that's in front of them on the bubble, as I think the first one out or second one out, is North Carolina. They have 1. And so we talked about some of those metrics in the SEC as being so strong this year. That's helped their cause. If they go in this tournament and they win a few games, look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist per se, but the NCAA wants Trey Johnson in this tournament. He's one of the best players in the sport. He's one of the best players in college basketball in a sport that there's not a lot of exciting guys in college basketball right now. Most of those guys are either playing in the G League or they're on the bench in the NBA or they're actually playing in the NBA. And so, but man, A&M is so experienced. A&M has probably the most experience coming back in the SEC. Buzz Williams does a tremendous job. If Texas uses that recipe they did against Vandy, and not just hindering Vandy's bad shooting. I mean, they're going to have to Tremont Mark has got to continue to run the point. They've got to kind of get into an offensive set. They got to take good shots. They got to rebound. They got to know what to do when they get a lead. If they beat A&M, I think they're in. I know we had a couple of people think, well, they've got to win a little bit more. They've got to get to the title game. No, I don't think they do. And I only say that I don't necessarily think they're a tournament team, guys. But based on what we're seeing, based off all that, based off those metrics in the SEC, Texas, if they beat A&M, guys. And what does A&M rank? What, 12, 11, or 12 in the country?
They're on a 3-seed line.
Yeah, absolutely. You knock off A&M again? You've done that twice? I think that bubble doesn't burst. I think this is I think they wind up getting in. And again, I think it's partly because the NCAA wants Trey Johnson in one shining moment.
Didn't they get Kendall Weaver back in this game? I don't know if we'd seen him.
Huge. He wasn't. I don't know how effective he was, but when he gets back to where, I mean, if he can get a couple games in, that guy is a defensive lockdown. Like he's a difference maker.
Every time I've seen games with him, he's clutch, essential college kind of guy.
That
He
game
only has one speed.
Yeah. That game gets going just about 2:30.
Blake's right. That kid's energy is contagious. I think Weaver is about that. Even if he's not doing it in the box score, he's affecting the team in a positive way. And plus, they got their backs against the wall. Joe and I disagreed about this last night. I actually thought about this after the show. I think A&M has the pressure. Now, A&M doesn't have to win it. They're going to be in the tournament anyway. Like you said, they're probably going to be a 3 seed. They don't want to lose to Texas. Like, think about that. Like, there are guys in that program that would rather beat Texas than maybe even advance than go further. They don't. I think the pressure's on A&M. Texas hasn't. If they lose, they're out. But I don't know. I feel like A&M's the one that's got to have the pressure on them. Now, Joe, Ian's already on your side, Joe. So I've lost that argument.
You just said if Texas loses, they're out of the tournament, and their coach probably gets fired like a few days later.
Yeah, but
that's a lot of pressure. How do you top that?
You could have said the same thing yesterday, and they didn't play with any. I think it's at one of those things where it's like we got nothing. The only thing we have to lose is us. Like, let's just go out and do it. So I'm putting the pressure. Maybe I'm being Freudian. I'm putting the pressure on A&M. They have to win this game, or it will affect Buzz Williams forever. So just build it up.
And
he doesn't have a good record against Texas. I think he just has the one win from this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, what time is that game again? So we
should be around 2:30. It's 25 minutes after the noon SEC game ends. So should be this afternoon. Before that happens, when that noon SEC game starts, Ian, you and Paul have the deep dive coming out. What's going to be on there?
What did we talk about? We had kind of a random collection of reader questions about Baxter coming back. It's a very eclectic mix of Texas football topics.
It's like a mixtape.
It's like a mixtape. It's a good one though. We had a lot of fun with this one, and it's a little more of a quick hitter at like 25 minutes or so.
I can't wait.
Perfect. Well, if you're here, make sure you do like this video and subscribe to the channel. And of course, head to InsideTexas.com. Sign up for just $1. Get a bunch of great access to recruiting news, just so much more. Now is a great time to join, especially with spring football coming up. So, Justin, thank you so much. Ian, thank you. We'll see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel on IT Live, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors.